This is Global Watch on your digital First Pan African News Network, TOS Television. I am Abigail OKUNADE. The jury who sat quietly off camera in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the ex-Minneapolis policeman accused of killing George Floyd last year, has retired to consider its verdict. The 12 sequestered jurors of 6 white people and 6 black or multiracial people are expected to consider 3 weeks of testimony from 45 witnesses, including bystanders and medical experts, along with hours of video evidence that make up the most high-profile U.S. police misconduct case in decades. The jury of 6 white people and 6 black people who are multiracial was set for its first day of deliberations. The jury, anonymous by order of the judge, spent just a few hours of their task on Monday listening to closing arguments from the prosecutors and defense team.
But for the defendant's actions, pushing him down, would George Floyd have died that day? Was it drugs? He just miraculously die of a drug overdose in that time? Maybe it was the tailpipe. Maybe it was his enlarged heart. Maybe not. Use your common sense. Use your common sense. Believe your eyes. What you saw.
Position during restraint is not an inherently dangerous act. It is routinely trained and used by the Minneapolis Police Department. We have to analyze this case from the perspective of a reasonable police officer at the precise moment with the totality of the circumstances when it comes to the use of force.
Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree depraved mind murder, and second-degree manslaughter. As the world enters a second year of COVID-19 pandemic, the annual Global Energy Review of the International Energy Agency that assesses the direction of energy demand and carbon dioxide emissions predicts a major surge in 2021. Global energy demand is set to increase by 4.6% in 2021, more than the offsetting 4.4% contraction in 2020 and pushing demand of 0.5% above 2019 levels. Almost 70% of the projected increase in global energy demand is in emerging markets and developing economies, where demand is set to rise to 3.4% above 2019 levels. Energy use in advanced economy is on course to be 3% below pre-COVID levels. Coal demand is on course to rise 4.5% in 2021, with more than 80% growth concentrated in Asia. Natural gas demand is set to grow by 3.2%, propelled by increasing demand in Asia, the Middle East, and Russia, while electricity demand is due to increase by 4.5%, the report says. Demand for all fossil fuels is set to grow significantly in 2021. Coal demand alone is projected to increase by 60%, more than all renewables combined. Despite an expected annual increase of 6.2% in 2021, global oil demand is set to remain around 3% below 2019 levels. A full return to pre-crisis oil demand level would have pushed up CO2 emissions a further 1.5%, putting them well above 2019 levels. On Tuesday, over 30 South Korean students shaved their heads in front of the Japanese embassy to protest Japan's decision to release water from its crippled Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. The police periodically dispersed the college students who chanted and held up placards, but they did not stop the event from taking place, although there is a ban on gathering larger than 10 people. The demonstrators who shaved their heads wore protective sheets with messages condemning the Japanese plan and calling for it to be scrapped. One of them had the message that said the Japanese government should immediately cancel the plan to release the contaminated water. The Japanese government said it will release more than 1 million tons of treated water from the Fukushima site in stages starting in about 2 years. Seoul has strongly condemned the decision, with the foreign ministry summoning the Japanese ambassador and President Moon Jae-in ordering officials to explore petitioning and international courts. On Monday, Russia's defense ministry said it had killed up to 200 militants during airstrikes on a terrorist base in the northeastern of Palmyra, Syria, where fighters were planning their attacks. The ministry said Russian Aerospace Forces aircraft carried out airstrikes after confirming data through multiple channels on the location of terrorist facilities. They destroyed 2 hideouts, 24 pickup trucks with large caliber machine guns, as well as about 500 kilograms of ammunition and components for creating improvised explosive devices. In the statement released, the date of the strikes and the targeted groups were not specified. It said that the target was a camouflage base where terrorist groups organized attacks in Syria and made explosives. The terrorists were being trained in several camps in areas not controlled by the Syrian regime, including the area of Al-Tanf, which is controlled by the U.S. military. The elections will be held on May 26. It will be the second since the Syrian conflict erupted in 2011, with the repression of anti-government protests that killed more than 388,000 people, I beg your pardon. You are watching Global Watch. For more stories after the break, just stay tuned. Welcome back. Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmed said the government will seek a vote in parliament on Tuesday on whether to expel the French ambassador after violent anti-France protests by Islamists demanding action over cartoons depicting Prophet Muhammad. The far-right Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan group demanded the expulsion of the ambassador, but the government banned it last week after its members blocked major highways, assaulted police officers, and burnt public property. In a video message, Sheikh Ahmed said it had decided that a resolution would be presented in the National Assembly and DLP Pakistan will call off its protests across the country. He also added that the government will withdraw cases registered against the TLP workers. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, warned his country on Monday that Pakistan risks paying the price if it expels the French envoy, as half the country's exports are brought by the EU. Relations between Paris and Islamabad became more strained after President Macron paid tribute late last year to a French teacher who was beheaded by a man of Chechen origin for showing cartoons depicting the Prophet in the class on freedom of speech. Muslims see such drawings as a blasphemy. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, said the number of migrant children trying to enter the United States from Mexico has increased 9-fold since the beginning of 2021. The agency said the increase from 380 to 3,500 youngsters registered at reception centers at the southern side of the border has overwhelmed the facilities. Jingle, the fund's director for Latin America and the Caribbean, said it breaks his heart to see the suffering of so many young children, even babies, on the Mexican border with the United States. He added that most of the shelters he visited in Mexico are already overpopulated and cannot accommodate the increasing number of children, adolescents, and families migrating. UNICEF said Mexican authorities are recording an average of 275 children a day waiting to enter into the United States or having been sent back from the northern side of the border. They added that migrants have spoken of abuses they suffered on their journeys, such as extortion, sexual assault, kidnapping, and human trafficking. UNICEF said they would need more reception centers on the border and an improvement in social conditions in Central America and poor regions of Mexico to reduce migration. Lorjain Al-Hatlau, a Saudi activist, was recognized with the top European prize for fighting for women's rights and for her efforts to end the ban on women driving. She was awarded the Václav Havel Human Rights Prize, an award named after the former Czech president and statesman Václav Havel. The award is presented yearly for civil society action in defense of human rights by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, PACE. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe described Hatlau as one of the leaders of the Saudi feminist movement who campaigned to end the male guardianship system, as well as the Saudi ban on women driving and for greater protection for women facing abuse in the kingdom. The 31-year-old was arrested in 2018 with other female activists just weeks before the ban on women driving was lifted. A court sentenced her to 5 years and 8 months in prison on charges of terrorism-related crimes, but was released early in February. She is still on probation and has been barred from leaving Saudi Arabia for 5 years. In March, she lost a court appeal against the sentence and the restrictions imposed against her, including the travel ban. Now to COVID-19 developments. Experts at the European Medicine Agency will on Tuesday present the conclusions of their investigation into possible connections between the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and very rare cases of blood clots discovered in the United States. Last week, Johnson & Johnson suspended the rollout of its one-dose vaccine after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recommended a pause in its use while the rare blood cases are being investigated. 6 cases of the blood clots among nearly 7 million people who were immunized with the shot in the U.S. were identified. Johnson & Johnson advised the European government to store their doses until the EU drug regulator issued guidance on their use. Widespread use of the shot in Europe has not yet started. Experts were afraid in the suspension of J&J vaccine could further complicate worldwide COVID immunization efforts. Last week, South Africa, Italy, Romania, the Netherlands, Denmark, and Croatia suspended its use of the vaccine in the wake of the U.S. pause. The blood clots connected to the J&J vaccine are occurring in unusual parts of the body, such as the veins that drain blood from the brain. Those patients also have abnormal low levels of blood platelets, a condition normally linked to bleeding, not clotting. And that is it on Global Watch. For more updates, do visit our website at www.tostvnetwork.com. To follow and like our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. I am Abigail OKUNADE. Remain safe, and thanks for watching.